Hello. The number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. Please try again later. In the quiet emergency room, this mechanical female voice from the receiver sounded particularly cold. Still no answer? The nurse was getting impatient. She put down her phone and smiled apologetically at her. But the smile was somewhat forced. Can I sign it myself? The nurse muttered something about wasting time and then handed her the anesthesia consent form. She had called Chu Jingxi 7 times without an answer, which was indeed a waste of time. If she needed a life-saving surgery instead of a simple hand debridement, she'd probably be dead by the time her family arrived to sign. After the local anesthesia, the doctor used tweezers to carefully pick out the tiny, sharp glass shards from her palm, curious about how she got injured. There was no special reason. She couldn't sleep and wanted to do something to pass the time. Who knew she'd be so unlucky that the glass would suddenly shatter while she was cleaning it? The doctor, out of professional habit, asked if she suffered from long-term insomnia. She shook her head. She usually slept very well. Her insomnia tonight had a reason. As for the reason, ding dong. A text message interrupted her conversation with the doctor. She picked up her phone and opened it. An unknown number had sent her a video. The video was dimly lit, making it difficult to see clearly, but she recognized Chu Jingxi at a glance. He was wearing the same suit she had picked out for him in the morning. His long, straight legs were casually crossed on the table. His tall and upright body leaned against the sofa, his divinely sculpted features flawless. He was the kind of handsome that would make women scream wherever he went. However, his eyes were too cold, and even when he smiled, he gave off an unapproachable vibe. Except for the woman next to him. She recognized her at a glance, too, even after 3 years apart. Meng Ruxue, her husband's sweetheart. She was leaning close to Chu Jingxi, wearing a vintage silk dress. The black color made her skin look like porcelain and her face like jade. After 3 years of studying abroad, she had acquired an artistic air, and her beautiful eyes were full of affection as she looked at Chu Jingxi. Truly captivating. Someone nearby urged them to drink a cross-cupped wine. Meng Ruxue blushed, but her eyes held anticipation. Chu Jingxi kept a smile on his lips, a hint of nonchalant charm in his eyes. He raised his hand and picked up the wine glass in front of him. The video ended there. She gripped her phone and smiled bitterly. No wonder he didn't answer her 7 calls. She should have known that he would be with Meng Ruxue today, since she was returning to the country. If she hadn't known, why would she be suffering from insomnia tonight? But knowing was one thing, and seeing it with her own eyes was another. She couldn't pretend it didn't happen. She typed with her recently treated right hand, her fingertips trembling. The 1-month cooling-off period is over. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow at 10 a.m. In their 3 years of marriage, he had never looked at her with such tenderness. In his eyes, she only ever saw disgust. Yes, he loathed her because the person who made him marry her was the person he hated the most. And because he married her, he was separated from his sweetheart for 3 years. But she had no choice back then. Her grandfather had cancer and an unfulfilled wish. The cancer drug cost $1,000,000 per injection. She had no choice but to agree to her aunt's request to marry him. Her intentions were impure, and she felt guilty towards Chu Jingxi. For 3 years, she took care of his every need. No matter how he verbally abused her, she remained the same for 3 years. 3 years. Even a dog would worry about its owner when it's sick. But Chu Jingxi, when she needed him to sign for her surgery, went to drink cross-cupped wine with his sweetheart. A sharp pain pierced through her heart. She covered her eyes with her hand, tears streaming down through her fingers. It was late when she finished her 4-drip and left the hospital. She had just started her car when her phone rang. The special ringtone indicated it was Chu Jingxi calling. Her brain told her to hang up, but her fingers, out of habit, answered the call. She cursed herself for being so weak and answered coldly. Hello. Jing is drunk at Yimei. Come and pick him up. Before she could speak, the other party hung up. She didn't want to go, but then she thought, what if Chu Jingxi slept with Meng Ruxue tonight and it delayed their divorce tomorrow? She had to go. Yimei. After parking the car, she looked at the bandage on her right hand and then thought of Meng Ruxue's elegant beauty tonight. She decisively removed the ugly bandage. She couldn't afford to lose face. She couldn't appear in such a disheveled state. Entering the private room, she saw a group of people drunk and sprawled out. Only Chu Jingxi remained in the same posture as in the video, seemingly asleep, a bit less sharp than when he was awake. However, she's first glance wasn't at him, but at Meng Ruxue, who was leaning softly against him, taking advantage of her drunkenness. Her cheeks were flushed, adding to her beauty. She, on the other hand, had rushed out in a hurry, only wearing a knit sweater over her pajamas, with a bare face, looking like a typical housewife, a stark contrast to Meng Rushue at this moment. Meng Rushue saw her and immediately sat up straight like a startled bird, nervously explaining, "Mrs. Chu, please don't misunderstand. I just had a few extra drinks and felt a little weak, so I leaned on Jingxi's shoulder for a moment." The strong smell of green tea overpowered the smell of strong liquor in the room, reminding Luo Shi of the aged pu'er tea that Aunt Chu had treasured for many years. And there was someone echoing her words, "Sis, don't provoke Jing just because he likes you. Everyone knows he hates her and hates it when people call her Mrs. Chu." As soon as Meng Rushue's sister, Meng Meng, said this, mocking laughter erupted in the room. Everyone looked at Luo Shi with the same contempt as always. "Meng Meng, don't say that. Whether Jingxi likes her or not, she is his wife." Meng Rushue played the good cop again, weakly reprimanding her sister, and then smiled apologetically at Luo Shi. "I'm sorry she's spoiled by my parents." Luo Shi wasn't angry. "It's okay, she's right. Chu Jingxi does hate me. At least you know yourself." Meng Meng snorted. Luo Shi smiled at her. "But what can I do? No matter how much he hates me, I'm still Mrs. Chu. And no matter how much he likes someone, they have no title." She was practically calling Meng Rushue a mistress to her face. Meng Rushue's flushed cheeks turned a few shades paler. "Luo Shi, who are you calling a mistress? You're the one who came between my sister and Jing. If it weren't for you, they would have had children by now," Meng Meng accused angrily. "Have children my ass. Why don't you ask Chu Jingxi if he can even get it up for your sister? If it weren't for her detoxifying him every day for 3 years, Chu Jingxi would have been nothing but a pretty face, good for nothing. Now that he's cured, she hasn't even had a chance to enjoy it, and it's going to benefit Meng Rushue." The thought was stuck in Luo Shi's throat. Luo Shi couldn't be bothered to deal with these sisters anymore. She walked to Chu Jingxi, bent down and called him, "Chu Jingxi." Chu Jingxi was fast asleep and didn't respond. Meng Meng jumped out to disgust her again. "Brother Jing, stop sleeping. Your little nanny is here." The words little nanny made others laugh. "I really want to ask where Brother Jing found this little nanny. I heard she's been diligently delivering soup to him for 3 years. Rain or shine. A desperate one. If you were as handsome as Brother Jing, you'd have women throwing themselves at you too." Ha! The looks they cast on Luo Shi were as if they were watching a clown. "Miss Meng, how much can you sell a painting for now? 100,000? Luo Shi ignored the mockery and looked at Meng Rushue. "Why are you asking?" Meng Meng shielded Meng Rushue, as if speaking to her would lower her sister's status. Luo Shi asked her directly, "What about you, second Miss Meng? How much allowance do you get a month? 100,000, 200,000, or 500,000? Meng Meng refused to answer. "What's it to you?" Luo Shi. "It's nothing really. I'm just curious. I want to know if your allowance as wealthy young ladies is higher than mine as a nanny. After all, I get 1 million a month, and I can freely use Chu Jingxi's supplementary card." The private room suddenly fell silent. The fact that she could freely use Chu Jingxi's supplementary card made a flicker of jealousy appear in Meng Rushue's eyes. Luo Shi's single kill. She knew very well that their allowance was at most a few 100,000, and their credit cards certainly weren't unlimited. Luo Shi gave them a disdainful smile and helped Chu Jingxi up to leave. The waiter at the door rushed to help. Luo Shi remembered something and turned back, saying, "Tonight is on me. Drink as much as you like. If the bill is less than 1 million, you all look down on Chu Jingxi." The private room fell silent again. Luo Shi double kill. The waiter helped get Chu Jingxi into the car, and Luo Shi thanked him before driving away. Back at the Beihai Villa, Luo Shi had just thrown Chu Jingxi onto the sofa when the man opened his eyes. His normally affectionate eyes were full of frost and undisguised disgust. So he was faking being drunk the whole time. He deliberately let her be humiliated by Meng Rushue and those young ladies. Although she was used to it, her heart still ached. She suppressed the pain and calmly asked him, "Do you want some soup?" Chu Jingxi sneered. "Didn't you say you would never make soup for me again?" His tone implied, "I knew you were pretending before." Luo Shi. "I was asking about hangover soup." Chu Jingxi never liked the soup she made. Every time, she had to go to great lengths to coax him into drinking it, and he always complained that it had a medicinal taste. But how could he know that it was medicinal soup, specifically to remove toxins from his body? Everyone said that Chu Jingxi was indifferent to women, and even he himself believed he was pure-hearted and abstinent. Even if a woman lay naked in his arms, he could remain unmoved. The truth was he didn't have the ability to be moved. He had been given a slow-acting poison, not deadly, but enough to make him lose a certain function, and he would never be able to have children. Aunt Chu forced him to marry her, not because she was afraid he would marry Meng Ruxue and weaken her own power, but because she could cure his poison. These secrets, Chu Jingxi would never know. All you talk about is soup, soup, soup. Besides this, what else can you say? Chu Jingxi misinterpreted her, and his face darkened. Luo, she smoothly changed the subject. Then let's talk about the divorce. You saw the message I sent you, right? Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, don't let your assistant schedule any work. We're getting a divorce. Chu Jingxi didn't respond. These past 3 years, I'm sorry for taking Meng Rushua's place. Just bear with it for one more night, and tomorrow I'll vacate the position. Luo, she lowered her eyes, and her heart ached again. She was willing to divorce, and Chu Jingxi should be happy. But when he heard Luo, she say it without any reluctance, he was inexplicably angry. His tone turned cold. Are you vacating the position for me, or am I vacating it for you? Luo, she didn't understand. What do you mean? Chu Jingxi. You know what I mean? Luo, she. How can I know if you don't tell me? What are you pretending for? Aunt just left, and you want a divorce. Isn't it because she's gone, and no one will give you $1 million every month anymore? And you know very well that without her forcing me, I wouldn't even enter this house, let alone let you freely use my supplementary card. A woman like you, who would sell herself for money, needs to find a new sugar daddy quickly. Chu Jingxi's words were like poison. Luo, she had heard too many similar words in the past 3 years. It would be a lie to say she wasn't aggrieved. In the first year of marriage, all the money Aunt Chu gave her was used to pay for her grandfather's cancer treatment. After her grandfather passed away, she saved all the money except what was needed for his detoxifying medicine. A month ago, at a Chinese medicine auction, a mysterious person bought 100-year-old blood ginseng for 24 million. That blood ginseng ended up in Chu Jingxi's stomach. The effect was remarkable. He could now easily be aroused by women. With Chu Jingxi's current ability, he could find out where the money went with just a phone call. But he stubbornly believed that she was a gold digger, and even if he knew the truth, he would probably think it was another conspiracy. I hit the nail on the head, and you have nothing to say? He didn't let her off the hook. When you hear enough nasty words, you gradually become immune. No matter how bad Chu Jingxi's attitude was, or how harsh his words were, she could let them go in one ear and out the other. Anyway, they were getting divorced tomorrow. Just endure it a little longer. Luo, she mentally prepared herself, and then smiled at the man. If thinking that makes you feel better, I have no objection. She turned to leave. As she passed by Chu Jingxi, he grabbed her wrist and pulled her onto the sofa. The man's large body pressed down on her, his breath smelling of alcohol. What are you doing? Being so close. Luo, she sensed danger. Chu Jingxi's eyes were cold. Luo, you've occupied the position of Mrs. Chu for 3 years, but haven't fulfilled your duties once. Do you think the Chu family is a charity? I want to see if a woman worth $1 million a month is really worth it. With that, the man's cold kiss pressed down on her. Luo, she instinctively resisted, but then she suddenly thought of something and gave up struggling. Seeing this, the disgust in Chu Jingxi's eyes deepened, but his body honestly craved her. He no longer had time to think about why he suddenly couldn't control himself around Luo. Even though they had shared a bed for 3 years, he had never felt any desire for her. It must have been her eagerness to find a new sugar daddy that angered him. Why should he let her get a divorce so easily? Even if they divorced, he would leave an indelible mark on her. He loathed her, so naturally, he wouldn't be gentle. Luo, she cried out in pain, more pain than all the harsh words Chu Jingxi had given her in the past 3 years. Luo, she didn't hold back either, leaving bloody scratch marks on his back. Next day, Luo, she was woken up by the landline phone in the villa. She groggily answered, "Hello." Her voice was incredibly hoarse. "What's wrong, Shi? Are you sick?" Su Yi, her best friend, asked worriedly from the other end of the line. Luo, she couldn't bring herself to say that she was half dead from being tormented by Chu Jingxi last night, so she vaguely replied, "I have a bit of a cold. What do you need? Weren't we supposed to celebrate your divorce together? I've been waiting at the restaurant for a long time, and you didn't answer your phone." Before Su Yi could finish, Luo, she, as if jolted from her sickbed, turned to look at the clock on the wall. The hour hand was already pointing at 11. It had been an hour past the time she and Chu Jingxi had agreed to get divorced. She looked around the room, but there was no sign of Chu Jingxi. She had no idea when that scoundrel had left. At the Crescent Moon restaurant, Su Yi stared at Luo, she's bandaged hand, and after hearing about the injury and the debridement process, she was fuming. Is that bastard Chu Jingxi even worthy of being a husband? Your wife gets injured and needs a signature. He doesn't answer his calls and is all lovey-dovey with his mistress. And then he makes you deliver yourself to his mistress to be humiliated. I swear, I want to kill someone. Her voice was so loud that it attracted the attention of people at the next table. Luo, she raised her hand to cover her face and shushed her. Can you please keep it down, miss? I can't. I haven't even started scolding you yet. Did a donkey kick you in the head? Why aren't you divorcing a man like that? Are you keeping him for the new year? Suyi said, exasperated. Luo, she quickly explained. It's not that I'm not divorcing him anymore. It's just that we didn't get it done this morning. She had called Chu Jingshi, but his assistant answered and brushed her off with a mister. Chu was in a meeting. Didn't get it done because you overslept? Su Ye's expression was one of utter disbelief. You didn't sleep together in 3 years of marriage, but you slept together right before the divorce? What? A final fling before the divorce? Luo, she weakly retorted. Is a divorce bang not allowed? Pfft. A laugh came from behind her. Luo, she instinctively turned her head and unexpectedly met a pair of cold eyes. It was none other than Chu Jingshi. Chu Jingshi was impeccably dressed, and standing next to him was another impeccably dressed man, the one who had just laughed. Luo, she recognized him, Gu Zai, Chu Jingshi's childhood friend. Besides Gu Zai, Meng Ruxue was also with Chu Jingshi. Perhaps because she had heard Su Ye's words and knew that she and Chu Jingshi had been intimate. A crack appeared on her otherwise composed face. How could this be? Last night, she had deliberately sent a video to Luo Shi and had someone call her. Luo, she had provoked her so much, Chu Jingshi should have hated her even more. If he hated her, why did he still have relations with her? No one knew better than she did how restrained Chu Jingshi was, but he had lost his restraint with Luo Shi. Did that mean he had developed different feelings for her? She had been abroad for 3 years, but Luo, she had been with him day and night for 3 years. Who could guarantee that Chu Jingshi wouldn't fall for her over time? Meng Ruxue's heart ached, and she felt even more hatred towards Luo Shi. Gu Zai, unaware of her mood, intentionally teased Luo Shi. Mrs. Chu, was the divorce bang okay? Luo Shi hadn't intended to answer such a silly question, but seeing Chu Jingshi's warning look that seemed to say, if you dare to talk nonsense, I'll strangle you, she boldly replied. It was just a very reluctant evaluation. No man could tolerate such an evaluation, especially someone as proud as Chu Jingshi. He looked at her as if he wanted to eat her alive. But Luo, she was past caring. She didn't need to coax him into drinking soup anymore. So why should she care about his feelings? She stiffened her neck and stared back at him. Chu Jingshi almost laughed out of anger. Ever since his aunt passed away, this woman had become a different person. All her former gentleness and submissiveness towards him were gone. She was not only sharp-tongued, but also dared to provoke him. But then he thought about how she was eager to find a new sugar daddy, and it made sense. She couldn't get any more money from him, so there was no need to pretend anymore. He found such a woman so disgusting that he couldn't even bear to look at her. 3 o'clock this afternoon. Throwing down a time, Chu Jingshi strode away, as if being in the same space as her was disgusting to him. Yingqi. Meng Ruxue quickly followed him, glancing back at Luo Shi with hatred as she turned the corner. You're really brave to look down on Jingshi's skills in bed, Gu Zai said with a compliment before leaving. Luo Shi ignored Gu Zai's compliment and took a moment to understand Chu Jingshi's meaning. Divorce at the Civil Affairs Bureau at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Great. She even had an appetite for lunch now. Suyi had been playing dead ever since Gu Zai appeared, and only revived after he left, asking curiously in a low voice. Cici, was Chu Jingshi really like that? Like what? Luo, she didn't get it at first. Suyi made a gesture of touching her 2 index fingers together. Luo, she instantly understood. It was definitely more than that. It was indeed painful at first, but it became pleasurable later. Although Chu Jingshi didn't have much skill, he was well endowed and had good stamina. It could be said that his natural advantages made up for his lack of experience. After all, his lack of experience wasn't his fault. If it weren't for her consistently making him soup for 3 years, he would still— Of course, she couldn't tell Suyi this. Don't mention him. It ruins my appetite. How's the thing I asked you to find out about? Luo, she waved her hand and changed the subject. Suyi, I did find out, but the rent for that place isn't cheap. You're about to divorce Chu Jingshi, and he hates you so much. How much property will he give you? Don't even think about his money. I'm leaving with nothing, Luo, she said. Why? Suyi felt indignant. It was his aunt who forced him to marry you, not you forcing him. You've been married to him for 3 years, waiting on him hand and foot. What have you done wrong to him? As soon as his aunt left, you understandingly offered a divorce to make way for Meng Ruxue. What more does he want? Luo, she quickly handed her a glass of water. Calm down, calm down. I can't calm down. Suyi cursed viciously. I'm going to draw a circle and curse him to be impotent. Let's see how he can live happily ever after with his beloved. Luo Shi. I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. Chu Jingxi will never be associated with impotence again in this lifetime. Otherwise, her grandfather would probably jump out of his coffin and scold her for being incompetent. You're just too easygoing. That's why you've been bullied by Chu Jingxi for 3 years. Su Yi saw her indifferent look and said helplessly, "Forget it. You leaving Chu Jingxi is like jumping out of a fire pit. Him losing you is his loss. Sooner or later he'll realize what he's lost." Luo, she nodded in agreement. Su Yi calmed down a bit and returned to the previous topic. "If you don't have money, I can pay the rent for you first. That place is very popular. First come, first served." Although the Su family was at the bottom of the list of wealthy families in Shuncheng, they were much richer than Luo Shi. Luo Shi didn't stand on ceremony with Su Yi. "Okay, you rent it for me first." After finishing the meal and parting with Su Yi, Luo Shi took a taxi to the traditional Chinese medicine hospital. Tang Kanqing was surprised and delighted to see Luo Shi, but his smile instantly froze when he saw her bandaged right hand. "What happened to your hand?" "I accidentally cut it on broken glass. It's a small injury." Luo Shi, afraid he wouldn't believe her, pretended to want to unwrap the gauze for him to check. Tang Kanqing stopped her. "What are you doing? It's bandaged, don't get it wet." Luo, she breathed a sigh of relief. The wound on the back of her hand was a bit shocking. Luckily, she managed to fool him. "What brings you here today?" Tang Kanqing poured her a glass of water. Luo, she smiled and took his hand, placing it on her wrist. "Brother Qing, take my pulse. Where are you feeling unwell?" Tang Kanqing immediately became nervous, his index, middle, and ring fingers quickly taking her pulse on her slender wrist. A minute later, Tang Kanqing's expression changed drastically, and he stood up with a crash. "You're being foolish." He finally noticed the hickeys on her neck, his eyes filled with pain and heartache. "You've been clearing his poison for 3 years. 90% of the toxins have been cleared out. The remaining 10% he can metabolize on his own. Why did you have to use this method? Don't you know that the poison will transfer to your body?" "I know." Luo, she knew, but she had no other choice. "We're getting a divorce today, and I won't be by his side anymore. I have no way of knowing when his residual toxins will be completely metabolized. If something unexpected happens, all our efforts will be wasted." What could possibly happen to him? With his aunt gone, he's been promoted from young Master Chu to President Chu. The entire corporation is his now. He can do whatever he wants in Shun City. Tang Kanqing said, annoyed. Luo, she quickly tried to appease him. Okay, Brother Qing, don't be angry. Anyway, I won't have anything to do with him anymore. And since it's already come to this, please prescribe me some medicine to clear the toxins." Tang Kanqing took a deep breath and sat back down to write the prescription. Fortunately, only 10% of the toxins remain. "Do you still have the medicinal ingredients I used for Chu Jingxi before?" Yes. Luo, she nodded. Actually, she didn't, but she didn't want Tang Kanqing to worry. It was just 10% of the residual toxins anyway, and they were already weakened. She would just use ordinary herbs and slowly detoxify. She couldn't afford the kind of herbs she had used for Chu Jingxi before. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come to Tang Kanqing for a prescription. Tang Kanqing finished writing the prescription, called his assistant in, and instructed him to get the medicine. Then he asked Luo Shi, "What are your plans for the future?" "I want to open a medicinal cuisine restaurant and carry on my grandmother's legacy," Luo Shi replied. Tang Kanqing advised her, "Have you considered working at the Chinese medicine hospital? With your medical skills, it would be a waste to become a medicinal cuisine chef." "You know I can't treat patients," Luo, she said with a wry smile. Tang Kanqing knew, but he thought that after so many years, and after Luo she had detoxified Chu Jingxi for 3 years, she would have moved on. He didn't expect that she still couldn't. "Cici, if Grandpa Luo were still alive, he would definitely want you to carry on his legacy." Tang Kanqing tried to console her further. "Didn't you inherit his legacy? Besides, a medicinal cuisine chef is half a doctor. In the future, if you have any patients who need to regulate their bodies, you can recommend them to me." Luo, she said, playfully changing the subject. Seeing this, Tang Kanqing had no choice but to give up. He smiled and said, "Naturally. Do you have enough money to open a medicinal cuisine restaurant?" "I'm partnering with Susu. She'll provide the funds, and I'll provide the labor." Luo, she smiled. Tang Kanqing was annoyed again when he heard this. Who would have thought that after being Mrs. Chu for 3 years, you wouldn't even have enough money to rent a storefront when you got divorced? That's right. Who would have thought? Even Chu Jingxi wouldn't believe it. He would only calculate that she could get 1 million a month, which would be 36 million in 3 years. In reality, she didn't even have 60,000 in her bank account. When Luo, she came out of the hospital, Tang Kanqing saw her off. While waiting for the car, Tang Kanqing asked her, Are you really not sad at all about divorcing Chu Jingxi? How could she not be sad? But even if she was sad, she had to get a divorce. Chu Jingxi didn't like her. She wasn't masochistic enough to tie herself to someone who didn't like her. I'm still a little sad. Luo, she raised her head and smiled at Tang Kanqing. After all, I quite like the villa in Beihai. Tang Kanqing was amused by her. He raised his large hand and gently patted her head. If you like villas, your brother will buy you one too. Just as Luo, she was about to speak, Tang Kanqing suddenly wrapped his arm around her waist and pulled her back a step. Whoosh! At the same time, a luxury car sped past. If Tang Kanqing hadn't reacted quickly, they would have been hit. Luo Shi's face turned pale with fear. Don't be scared, don't be scared. Tang Kanqing held her close and comforted her, his heart aching for her. Inside the car, Guze also clicked his tongue. That was Tang Kanqing, wasn't it? He's a highly sought-after Chinese medicine doctor now, a guest of honor for the heads of major families. Even my grandmother trusts his medical skills very much. I didn't expect Luo Shi's next target to be him. His status is nowhere near yours. Chu Jingxi's face was very unpleasant. Although he knew that Luo Shi was eager to get a divorce to find her next target, it was still infuriating to see it with his own eyes. They weren't even divorced yet, and Luo Shi was already hugging and cuddling with another man. This was clearly cuckolding him. Are you angry? Guze also asked in surprise. Don't you hate Luo Shi? You're about to get divorced, and her next target is not as good as you. You should be happy. Chu Jingxi didn't say anything, but his expression became even more unpleasant. Guze also had a flash of insight. Jingxi, you couldn't possibly have fallen for her, could you? Get lost, Chu Jingxi snapped. Guze also grinned, getting angry out of embarrassment. Are we? Chu Jingxi shot him a cold glare, successfully shutting Guze also up. But Guze also was already convinced that he had discovered Chu Jingxi's secret. Interesting, this was going to be a good show. At 2:40 p.m., Luo, she was already waiting at the Civil Affairs Bureau. At 3 p.m., Chu Jingxi didn't show up. Luo, she thought he might be stuck in traffic. At 3:30 p.m., Chu Jingxi still hadn't appeared. Luo, she called him, but no one answered. At 4 p.m., Luo, she left the Civil Affairs Bureau and took a taxi to the Chu Group. Luo, she was familiar with this place. For the past 3 years, whenever Chu Jingxi was at the company, rain or shine, she would come to deliver soup without fail. But unexpectedly, she who used to be able to go straight up was stopped by the receptionist this time. Do you have an appointment? The receptionist was a new face. Luo, she hadn't expected that after Chu Jingxi took complete control of the group, he would even replace the receptionist arranged by Aunt Chu. He must hate Aunt Chu to the core. Luo, she turned around and sent a WeChat message to Chu Jingxi. I'm downstairs. If you don't want the new receptionist to know that I'm your wife, then let me up. Luo, she bet that Chu Jingxi wouldn't want others to know her identity. Sure enough, his assistant, Chen Shu, came down quickly and took her up in the CEO's private elevator. Madam, Mr. Chu is in a meeting. Please wait a moment. Would you like some coffee? Chen Shu opened the office door. Luo, she shook her head and walked in. Chu Jingxi's office hadn't changed. It was still the same black and white style. The only bright spot was the decorative painting behind the desk. A single whale was painted on the entire wall, lifelike. Every time she came, she would be attracted by this painting, especially the 8 small characters in the signature. The whale swims to the sea. I swim to you. The whale is Chu Jingxi, and you are Meng Ruxue. This painting was made by Meng Ruxue before their marriage, at Chu Jingxi's request, to express his dissatisfaction with Aunt Chu forcing him to marry her. Every time she looked at it, she was reminded of how much more he detested her. Lost in thought, Chu Jingxi returned. Luo, she withdrew her gaze, hiding the faint sadness in her eyes. Didn't you say 3 p.m.? Why didn't you go? Chu Jingxi glanced at her, his tone full of teasing. Yesterday you said 10 a.m., and you didn't go either. Don't you know why I didn't go? Luo, she blurted out. Chu Jingxi, what do I know? I was the one who exerted myself last night. Luo, she. How could he talk about that kind of thing with the same tone as discussing what he had for midnight snack last night? Shameless. Chu Jingxi was shameless, but Luo, she wasn't. She checked the time. I missed once, you missed once, we're even. If we go now, we should still make it. No time. Chu Jingxi walked towards the desk. Luo, she stopped him. Chu Jingxi, what exactly do you mean? With her right arm stretched out in front of him, Chu Jingxi finally noticed the gauze on her hand. What happened to your hand? He blurted out the question. Been blind since last night, and now your eyesight is back, mister. Chu. Luo Shi's tone was sarcastic. If she had died, by the time he found out to collect her body, it would have already decomposed. Chu Jingxi actually regretted asking as soon as he did. Why should he care about her? Now, hearing her sarcasm, his anger flared up. Biting the hand that feeds you. Luo, she raised her injured right hand. Reflect. Who's the dog who knows? Chu Jingshi was stunned for a moment. A long-lost sense of familiarity washed over him. In the past 3 years, she would occasionally try to be witty with him, just to make him smile and coax him into drinking the awful soup. But ever since Aunt Chu left, she had stopped making soup for him, let alone trying to make him laugh. Chu Jingshi, what are you spacing out for? If we don't go now, it'll really be too late. Luo, she waved her hand in front of his face again. Chu Jingshi found the gauze on her hand an eyesore. He pushed her hand away and walked towards the desk. Don't you see the stack of documents on my desk? Do you think everyone is like you, lying at home and sleeping to earn millions a month? Here we go again. Luo, she was starting to lose her patience. It's not like you're giving me the money, so why are you so worked up? Don't act like I took your money. In their 3 years of marriage, Luo, she had never spent a penny of Chu Jingshi's money. You're complaining that I haven't spent money on you? Chu Jingshi sneered, then asked, has Tang Kongqing given you any? Luo, she was stunned for a moment, then asked, you saw us? Do you think I'm blind? Anyone can see the two of you hugging. Chu Jingshi said unkindly. The thought of Tang Kongqing embracing her made Chu Jingshi inexplicably think of the warm and fragrant jade from last night. He felt inexplicably hot and loosened his tie. What hugging? That was because of a car. Luo, she suddenly remembered. Don't tell me that car was yours. Chu Jingshi didn't deny it. Luo, she's heart turned cold. She had spent 3 years trying to cure him, but he hated her so much that he wanted to run her over. Since you saw it, I have nothing to explain. Tang Kongqing is my next target. Do me a favor and get the divorce done quickly, so I can go to him. Just when Chu Jingshi thought Luo, she would jump up and curse him. She admitted it like a defeated rooster. Seeing her like this, Chu Jingshi's heart ached, but he felt even more angry. When you could use me to get money, you clung to me tightly. Once you couldn't get any more money, you immediately kicked me away. Luo, she. What do you take me for? Your money-making tool. Yes. Luo, she admitted brazenly. Based on her understanding of Chu Jingshi, he would never tolerate being used as a tool, especially her tool. She wanted to anger Chu Jingshi so that he would immediately go and get a divorce with her. She had already asked on the way here. If they didn't get divorced today, it would be considered as giving up the divorce. The divorce request would be automatically withdrawn, and if they went again tomorrow, they would have to reapply and wait another month. She didn't want to wait another day. Chu Jingshi was indeed angered, but the consequences were not what Luo she had imagined. He suddenly grabbed her chin, forcing her to look up at him, and squeezed out 2 words from between his teeth. Don't even think about it. Luo, she. Don't even think about what? Chu Jingshi saw the question mark in her eyes and added, you forced me to get married, so don't even think about getting your way with the divorce. The more you want to leave, the more I won't let you. Luo, she. Chu Jingshi. Do you even hear yourself? Why weren't you this rebellious when we got married? Pushing his hand away, Luo, she confirmed. You're sure you won't divorce me? Chu Jingshi. I won't. Fine, then give me money. Luo, she held out her hand to him. Last month's and this month's living expenses, 2 million. Slap. Chu Jingshi slapped her hand, seemingly fierce, but without much force. Not even 20,000. Get out. I have work to do. Luo, she didn't want to leave. The matter wasn't clear yet. Chu Jingshi directly called Chun Shu in. See her out. Madam, please. Chun Shu carried out the order rigidly. Luo, she took a deep breath, glared at Chu Jingshi, and then left. Chun Shu escorted her all the way out of the group, thoughtfully hailed a taxi for her, opened the door, and helped her in, as if he wouldn't have completed his boss's task unless he saw her leave with his own eyes. Assistant Chun. After the car door closed, Luo, she rolled down the window. Chun Shu bent down closer. What can I do for you? Make an appointment with a neurologist for your boss when you have time. He needs to get his head checked. There's definitely something wrong with him. Luo, she finished, closed the window, and told the driver to drive. Chun Shu stood there watching, still confused. He had always been very polite to his wife. Although his boss clearly didn't take his wife seriously, he had never been disrespectful to her. Why would his wife want to harm him? Making an appointment with a neurologist for his boss. Did he think his boss was paying him too much? Back at the North Sea Villa, Luo, she packed her luggage while video chatting with Su Yi, complaining. Su Yi was dumbfounded. Has Chu Jingshi been possessed by someone? He hates you so much, and you even offered a divorce. Shouldn't he be happily getting a divorce? Why is he being rebellious? He just wants to make my life miserable. Luo, she figured it out. Perhaps she wanted a divorce too much, so Chu Jingshi had to do the opposite to spite her. Su Yi said she couldn't fathom the mind of a big shot and asked, so, no divorce? Not divorcing is impossible. Luo, she was determined to divorce. Help me find a lawyer. I'll sue for divorce, okay? What nonsense are you talking about? Which lawyer would dare to sue Chu Jingxi? Su Yi poured cold water on her. Luo, she wanted to cry. Before, there was still Aunt Chu to keep Chu Jingxi in line. Now that Aunt Chu was gone, there was no one left to control him. Hugs, don't cry. I have good news. I've rented the place. When do you want to see it? Su Yi tried to comfort her with happy things. Tomorrow. Luo, she wiped away non-existent tears and snapped her suitcase shut. I'll move today. Ah, where are you moving to? Su Yi asked quickly. Luo, I'll stay in a hotel tonight and look for a place tomorrow. Why stay in a hotel? Su Yi waved her hand. My dad gave me an apartment last year. Go live there. It's empty anyway. Luo, is that okay? Su Yi, don't be silly. Luo, thank you, Miss Su. That night, Luo, she quickly moved into Su Ye's small apartment. Su Yi also came over, and the two best friends squeezed onto one bed and whispered to each other. Luo, she thought that when Chu Jingxi got home and found she had moved out, he would call her. But she thought too much. Chu Jingxi didn't care whether she moved out or not, or maybe he didn't go back at all. That's right, he said it himself. With Aunt Chu gone, no one was forcing him anymore. He wouldn't even step foot in that house. Luo, she slept until dawn, had breakfast, and went with Su Yi to see the storefront. It was a two-story building hidden in the bustling city, decorated in an antique style. It used to be a restaurant, but it closed down due to poor management. Luo, she accidentally saw the sublease information and immediately asked Su Yi to help contact them. How is it? If there's anything you don't like, tell me, and I'll have it redecorated. After touring the place, Su Yi sat down and asked her. Luo, she said, there's no need to change the overall layout. I'll draw the small details that need to be changed, and you can find someone to renovate according to the drawings. As she spoke, she began to draw, and in a moment, she handed Su Yi a design drawing. Su Yi clicked her tongue. Chu Jingxi really mistook a pearl for a fisheye. Meng Rushue's lousy painting skills aren't even half as good as yours. What Chu Jingxi admires is not the painting skills, but the person. No matter how well I paint, if it's someone he hates, it's garbage. No matter how bad Meng Rushue's painting is, if it's someone he likes, it's a masterpiece. Luo, she saw through it all too clearly. That's why I say he's blind. How is Meng Rushue better than you? Su Yi was genuinely confused by Chu Jingxi. Luo, she concluded, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. He'll regret it sooner or later. Su Yi repeated her usual line. Luo, stop talking about him. Let's talk about the share distribution between us. What? Su Yi was confused. Luo, the shares of the medicinal cuisine restaurant. I can't let you pay for nothing. Who's paying for nothing? I'm lending it to you, understand? Su Yi put on a clear-cut attitude. You're going to pay me back with interest at the same rate as the bank. Luo, she knew she was just saying that. She wouldn't actually charge interest later. So she deliberately said, don't you believe I can make the restaurant successful? Are you afraid that taking shares will be a waste of money? Of course not. Su Yi quickly waved her hand. I wouldn't doubt anyone, especially you. You're so capable. These past 3 years have been wasted because of Chu Jingxi. Once the restaurant opens, it will definitely be packed. Then why are you being silly and not taking shares? Luo, she said. Su Yi, I can't take advantage of you. We don't know who's taking advantage of whom yet. Do you think you're just paying the rent? There's a lot more to spend money on later. Renovations, hiring people, purchasing ingredients, and so on. Luo, she said. Su Yi, may I ask, are you so poor that you don't have a single penny? Su Yi really thought she just couldn't afford the rent, as the rent was indeed quite high. It's not like I don't have a single penny. Luo, she held out 5 fingers. Su Yi, only 500,000 yuan? Luo, remove a zero. 50,000. Su Ye's eyes nearly popped out. You've been Mrs. Chu for 3 years, and you only have 50,000 yuan in your card. Is Chu Jingxi a miser? That's too stingy. He wasn't that stingy. He did give her a supplementary card, but she never used it. So whether the restaurant can open or not depends entirely on your little treasury. Luo, she held out her hand again. We'll split the shares 50-50. Don't refuse, or I won't open it. Su Yi knew her temperament. If she refused Luo, she really wouldn't open it. All right, she agreed for now. Luo, she smiled. I promise you won't lose money. Su Yi wasn't worried about losing money at all. Others might not know how capable Luo she was, but she knew very well. In the following days, Luo, she was very busy, supervising the renovation, recruiting staff, purchasing medicinal materials, and handling all kinds of matters, big and small. She was as busy as a spinning top every day and fell asleep as soon as she got home. Chu Jingxi had long been forgotten by her. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye, and the medicinal food restaurant had been open for a week. As Suyi had said, it was a hit from the start. With Luo Shi's skill in making medicinal cuisine, there was no shortage of customers. Shishan Fong. In the evening, a group of well-dressed men and women arrived at the entrance of the medicinal food restaurant. One of the women, who was dressed elegantly with an artistic flair, gently read out the name on the signboard. Guze introduced it to her. Ru Shui, this is a medicinal food restaurant. I brought you here specially to try it out. Thank you. Meng Ru Shui smiled gracefully. You're welcome. Guze made a gesture of invitation and winked at Chu Jingxi beside her. Chu Jingxi ignored his antics and walked in first. Meng Ru Shui followed closely behind, and the others also surged in. After verifying the reservation information, the waiter led them to a private room. Guze squeezed next to Chu Jingxi and asked him in a low voice, "What do you think of this place? What are you trying to say?" Chu Jingxi wasn't in the mood to talk at the moment. The reason was simple. He had been away on a business trip for half a month and hadn't returned home. Luo, she hadn't called him once. He went home to change clothes before coming here and found that Luo, she had moved out without telling him. He called her, but she didn't answer. Chu Jingxi even suspected that she had eloped with a wild man. You're so angry. I suggest you drink more heat-clearing soup later, Guze kindly suggested. Little did he know that Chu Jingxi had a psychological trauma. After being forced to drink soup for 3 years, he now associated the mention of soup with Luo Shi, and he became even angrier. Shut up, Chu Jingxi said irritably, shooting Guze a glance. Guze nodded repeatedly and made a gesture of zipping his mouth shut. The group arrived at the private room and sat down. After asking for Guze's preference, the waiter started serving the dishes. The dishes were all pre-ordered, so they could be served immediately upon arrival after a phone call. 20 dishes were served one after another. Each dish was not large in portion, but was exquisitely presented and looked appetizing. Meng Ru Shui first served Chu Jingxi a bowl of soup. Jingxi, have some soup first. You have it. Chu Jingxi pushed the bowl to her. Meng Ru Shui, don't you like soup? Sis, you don't know this, but Jingji's little nanny made him soup for 3 years and forced him to drink it for 3 years under the guise of Aunt Chu's instructions. Even someone who loves soup would get sick of it. I bet Jingji wants to throw up at the smell of soup now. Meng Meng interjected, dissing Luo Shi right away. Xiao Meng, don't insult the chef here. Luo Shi's soup-making skills are not even worthy of carrying their shoes. That's right. Even dogs wouldn't drink Luo Shi's soup. As soon as these words were spoken, the temperature in the private room suddenly dropped a few degrees. The person who said this received a death glare from Chu Jingxi. His heart skipped a beat, and he slapped himself. I'm sorry, Jingji, I wasn't cursing you. I just wanted to say that Luo Shi's soup is so bad that even dogs would dislike it. Pri, my dog mouth can't spit out ivory, Jingji, don't take it to heart, I'll punish myself with a drink. This person downed a glass of white liquor in one gulp, and it burned his throat. Why was his mouth so loose? Chu Jingxi's expression didn't improve, and the air pressure around him was very low. Meng Ru Shui didn't know if he was angry because he was being scolded for no reason or because others were slandering Luo Shi. This time, after returning to the country, she felt an unprecedented sense of crisis. She always felt that Chu Jingxi was different towards Luo Shi. Suppressing the unease in her heart for the time being, she turned to reprimand Meng Meng. Don't talk nonsense. You have no manners at all. She's Jingxi's wife, not some little nanny. What wife? Asked Jingji if he acknowledges her. Meng Meng pouted. You should be Jingji's wife. If it weren't for her, Jingji would have married you back then. Xiao Meng. Meng Ru Shui raised her voice. If you keep talking nonsense, go home and reflect on your actions. Meng Meng bit her lip in grievance. Meng Ru Shui apologized to Chu Jingxi. Jingxi, don't mind her. Let's eat. Chu Jingxi said faintly, showing neither anger nor a good expression. Meng Ru Shui couldn't read his mind, so she smiled and used the serving chopsticks to pick up some food for him. Chu Jingxi ate it, and Meng Ru Shui secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Guze watched from the side, then called over a waiter and whispered a few instructions. The waiter left with a troubled expression. Halfway through the meal, someone knocked on the door of the private room. Guze immediately responded, Come in. The door opened, and a tall woman walked in. She was wearing a beige, double-breasted shirt and a grass-green skirt, with the hem of the shirt tucked into the skirt, accentuating her slender, willow-like waist. Her face was still plain, yet it had a different kind of radiance, making it hard to believe that this was Luo Shi. Luo Shi, what are you doing here? Are you a dog, following Brother Jing wherever he goes? Meng Meng was annoyed with her. and seeing how beautiful she had become, she was even more afraid of her appearing in front of Chu Jingxi. She pointed to the door and ordered, "Get out of here. You're not welcome. Don't spoil our appetite." Luo, she didn't even look at her. She glanced at Chu Jingxi and Meng Ruxue, cursing inwardly. This jerk brought his sweetheart to support his wife. How impressive. I told you to get lost. Didn't you hear me? Meng, being ignored, spoke even more harshly. Luo, she smiled. You come to my place, eat my food, and tell me to get lost? She turned to the waitress. Sister Li, this person is Meng, the second daughter of the Meng family. Write a sign and put it at the entrance. Dogs and Miss Meng are not allowed. The words shocked everyone in the private room. The food court was actually opened by Luo Shi. These dishes were actually made by her. With her cooking skills that even dogs would despise, how could she make such delicious food? Why does it feel like she's scolding herself? Meng's face flushed with anger at Luo Shi's roundabout insult. Luo Shi ignored her and asked Gu Zei, Mr. Gu, if you have any complaints, please feel free to raise them. No, I just think the food is delicious and wanted to meet the owner. I didn't expect it to be you. Why didn't you say anything when you opened? I would have sent you dozens of flower baskets at the very least. Gu Zei laughed it off. Luo, she didn't believe a single punctuation mark. Gu Zei was Chu Jingxi's childhood friend, and they were thick as thieves. It was obvious that he knew all along that the food court belonged to her and deliberately brought Chu Jingxi and Meng Ruxue here to provoke her. Her sweetheart had returned, so she should make way for her. She had known long ago, but Chu Jingxi was being irrational. What was the point of provoking her? Luo, she didn't indulge Gu Zei and left with a please enjoy your meal. As soon as she stepped out, she heard footsteps chasing after her. Without turning around, she knew it was Chu Jingxi. Stop right there. The next second, Chu Jingxi's voice reached her ears. Luo, she rolled her eyes at him from behind and quickened her pace. You want me to stop? Who do you think you are? The footsteps behind her also quickened. Chu Jingxi had long legs and took large strides. He caught up to her in a few steps and unceremoniously dragged her outside. Meng Ruxue had just chased after them and saw this scene. She immediately followed. Luo Shi, afraid of disturbing other guests, didn't dare to make a scene and was dragged out the door by Chu Jingxi. Let go, or I'll scream for help. Once outside, Luo, she was no longer afraid and forcefully shook him off again. Coincidentally, Chu Jingxi let go, and she fell backward. Chu Jingxi instinctively reached out to catch her, but his hand stopped midair as he remembered he had no reason to catch her. In that moment of hesitation, Luo, she fell hard. Chu Jingxi, are you crazy? Luo, she grimaced in pain. Chu Jingxi's face turned cold. He squatted down and pinched her chin. Cursing at me? So, what if I am? I'll give you a big slap too. Luo, she slapped him. Smack! Chu Jingxi's face was turned to the side, and 5 fingerprints quickly appeared on his cheek. Hit me back! Luo, she shouted in her heart. As long as Chu Jingxi hit her, she would immediately call the police and report him for domestic violence, then file for divorce. Chu Jingxi's hand was already raised, but he stopped instantly when he caught the mischievous glint in her eyes. His raising and lowering of his hand, without touching her at all, disappointed Meng Ruxue, who had chased after them. You want to play games with me, huh? Chu Jingxi picked her up and strode toward the car. Seeing that Chu Jingxi was about to leave, Meng Ruxue stepped in front of him. Jingxi, are you leaving already? Everyone is still waiting for you to eat. You guys eat. Chu Jingxi gestured for her to step aside. Meng Ruxue lowered her eyes slightly, her eyelashes trembling. She mustered up the courage to ask him, Can you stay until after dinner? Zei arranged this welcome dinner for me tonight. If you leave early, people will laugh at me. That's right, you can't leave. If you leave, people will definitely talk behind your back, saying that even the sweetheart is no match for the legitimate wife. I'm used to being disgraced, but Miss Meng has thin skin. If you leave her here, what if she gets upset and commits suicide again? Luo Shi agreed and advised Chu Jingxi. Meng Ruxue trembled from her sarcasm, and the night wind made it seem like she would fall at any moment. Shut up! Chu Jingxi snapped at her, stepped around Meng Ruxue, and roughly threw her into the car. He turned to Meng Ruxue and said, Go back first. I have some private matters to discuss with her. Then he got in the car and instructed the driver, Go to Beihai. He left without a second thought. Meng Ruxue looked up, forcing back her planned tears. As she lowered her head, she saw someone selling candied hawthorns across the street. An idea struck her, and she walked over.